It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I still remember the sound my heels made on the church floor, that soft tap, tap, tap that echoes like you're walking into a dream. Everyone was standing, smiling, some of them crying already. The music was playing. The light coming through the stained glass windows made everything look like a movie. And halfway down that aisle, I genuinely thought, this is it. This is my forever. Then my dog burst through the church doors and tried to stop my wedding. Yeah, my own dog. The morning everything felt almost perfect. The day started like every wedding cliché you've ever seen. My best friend was crying while trying not to smudge my makeup. My mum was fussing over my veil. There were flowers everywhere. The photographer kept saying things like, "Hold that smile. Perfect." And I was smiling, but I was also shaking. I was standing in front of the mirror in my dress for the first time, and I honestly barely recognized myself. I'd imagined this since I was a little girl. The dress, the music, the slow walk toward a man who would promise me forever. Everything was exactly how I wanted it, almost. Because in the corner of the room, not fitting into the picture at all, was Buddy, my German shepherd. My shadow. My best friend for 6 years. He should have been excited. Usually, if I so much as put on mascara, he'd wag like I was getting ready for the Grammys. But that morning, he was wrong. He kept pacing. His ears were pinned back. His eyes didn't have that goofy softness I loved. They were sharp, locked onto me like he was worried I bent down, all dressed in lace and satin and cupped his face in my hands. "Hey, big guy, what's wrong?" He didn't lick my hands. He didn't wag his tail. He just got up, padded over to the window, stared outside, and growled, low and quiet, like a warning. "See?" my mum said with this nervous laugh. "He probably feels all the excitement. Dogs sense these things." I nodded. I tried to believe her. I told myself he was just overstimulated with all the people, the smells, the chaos. But I'd grown up with this dog. He wasn't excited. He was anxious. And I ignored it. The first red flag I should have listened to. When we stepped outside, the wedding car was waiting, all decorated with ribbons and flowers. It felt surreal, like stepping into someone else's life. Buddy was on the porch watching every movement. His food bowl was still full. He hadn't eaten. Buddy never skips food. That alone should have told me something. "Come on, boy," I said, rattling his bowl. "Eat a little. I'll be back soon." Nothing. He just stared. Then he growled again, this time past me, over my shoulder. I turned and saw Ryan, my fiancé's best man, walking through the gate with a casual smile, phone in hand. "Good morning, bride-to-be," he called. Buddy's growl deepened. He moved between Ryan and me, shoulders tight, hackles slightly raised. Ryan laughed nervously. "Whoa, easy there. He's protective, huh?" My mum rushed in, patting Buddy's head like you do when you're embarrassed in public. "He's just not used to visitors so early," she said, but her eyes weren't laughing. I knelt again, fingers curled into Buddy's fur. "It's okay. He's a friend," I whispered. He didn't believe me. And, honestly, I think part of me didn't either. But I pushed that thought away. When I finally got into the bridal car, Buddy just sat in the driveway watching. He didn't try to jump in. He didn't bark happily. He just stared with this look. Worried. Sad. Almost pleading. The last thing I saw before we turned the corner was him sitting there, ears forward, tail still, like he knew something was coming. And maybe he did. When Buddy crashed the wedding, the closer we got to the church, the more my nerves turned into straight fear. It wasn't cold feet. It felt different. Heavy. Like my stomach knew something my brain didn't. Everyone outside the church was smiling and waving when the car pulled up. The building looked beautiful. Tall, white, decorated with flowers and ribbons. The bells were ringing. My heart was pounding. I was seconds away from stepping out when I heard it one loud, furious bark. "Did you hear that?" I asked the driver. He frowned, glanced in the rearview mirror, then laughed. Well, look who couldn't stay away. I turned. And there he was, Buddy, sprinting across the church courtyard like his life depended on it, leash trailing behind him, eyes locked onto the car. Buddy! The driver braked. Buddy skidded to a stop right in front of us, barking his head off. He ran around the car once, then jumped to my door and pawed it, whining like he wanted me out now. The wedding planner rushed over, totally horrified. "Whose dog is this? Someone get him away from the entrance." "He's mine," I said, getting out before anyone could stop me. "Buddy, hey, calm down. What are you doing here?" But he wasn't calming down. He wasn't looking at me. His eyes were fixed on the church doors. He growled again, low and relentless. People were whispering, "Is that the bride's dog? Why's he barking like that?" I tried to shush him, pet him, do anything to make him relax. He was having none of it. He kept looking at the doors like something bad was on the other side. I should have listened, I didn't. Walking into a trap I didn't know existed. They finally convinced me to leave Buddy outside, just for the ceremony. He refused to go with my mom. He refused to be led away. He sat by the closed doors, whining softly, his nose pressed to the wood like he was trying to push through it with sheer will. I remember turning back one last time before walking down the aisle. His eyes, those big, warm brown eyes, looked at me like he was saying, "Please don't." And I still walked. The music started, the doors opened, everyone stood up. I stepped into the light, veil shimmering, heart pounding. For a moment, it was everything I'd dreamed of. People smiling, phones recording, Michael, my fiancé, standing at the altar in his suit, looking like the perfect future. I took one step, then another. L tap, tap, tap. Halfway down the aisle, just when I thought my legs would give out from nerves, it happened. The church doors behind me slammed inward, and Buddy came flying in. When my dog took over the ceremony, the music cut off mid-note. People screamed and gasped. The organist literally lifted his hands off the keys like someone had yanked the plug from his soul. I froze, bouquet shaking in my hands. Buddy charged straight down the aisle. "Buddy!" I whispered, my heart racing. He didn't jump on me. He didn't lick my face. He skidded to a stop right in front of me and planted himself there like a living barricade, body pressed between me and the altar. His teeth were showing. His growl was so deep I could feel it in my ribs. "Get that dog out of here!" someone shouted. My dad tried to grab his collar. Buddy ripped free, never once taking his eyes off Michael, my groom, the man I was about to marry. "Buddy, stop!" I begged, reaching for him. He glanced at me for a split second, and I saw it in his eyes, not anger, not madness, fear. He nudged me backward with his body like he was trying to physically push me away from the altar. The priest tried to lighten the mood, his voice shaking. "Perhaps we should take a short pause." Michael's mask started to crack, his jaw clenched. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "He's ruining everything. Get him out of here." Everyone stared. He had never spoken to me like that. Not in public. Not so harshly. Buddy barked again, that sharp, commanding bark that says, "Pay attention." And for the first time, I did. The tiny glass vial that changed everything. Buddy started pacing between us, then fixated on Michael. Not his face, his chest, his jacket. He moved forward, nose sniffing the air around Michael's suit. His growl turned into this low, continuous rumble. "Michael, what's going on?" I asked. He forced this weird laugh. "Your dog's lost his mind. He doesn't know what he's doing." Buddy's nose pressed against his jacket pocket. He growled louder, and then he snapped. Not at Michael's skin, at his jacket. He lunged, teeth catching fabric, and tore the pocket open. People screamed. I gasped. The sound of ripping cloth felt louder than the music that had been playing before. Something small and glassy flew out and hit the marble floor with a soft clink, 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 before rolling to a stop in the middle of the aisle. A tiny glass vial, sealed, unlabeled, filled with a faint, cloudy liquid. Buddy barked furiously at it, like it was alive. The entire church went dead silent. The priest came down from the altar, bent over and picked it up carefully. He uncapped it slightly, sniffed, and recoiled. "This This is not medicine, he said quietly. It smells like a chemical compound. My blood ran cold. Michael, I whispered, my voice shaking. What is that? His face went white, sweat beaded on his forehead. It's nothing. Just something for my anxiety. Give it back. No label? The priest asked. And you bring it hidden in your jacket during your wedding? People started whispering, shifting in their seats. Phones were out. Cameras recording. Buddy stepped in front of me again, growling low as Michael moved toward us. That's when security rushed in, and everything unraveled. The confession I never saw coming. The police arrived faster than I thought possible. Someone must have called them the second they heard chemical compound. They examined the vial, his pockets, his jacket. One of the officers looked at me with this grim expression and said, "This isn't medication. This is a controlled substance that can temporarily paralyze or knock someone out if inhaled in the right amount." I felt like the floor disappeared under me. I turned to Michael, the man I almost married. "Why?" I asked. My voice didn't even sound like mine. "Why would you bring this here? To our wedding?" For a moment he didn't speak. Then he broke. His shoulders slumped. His voice cracked. "You don't understand. I wasn't trying to hurt you." The officer beside him scoffed. "You had 2 doses on you. He took a shaky breath. "I just needed time." "Time for what?" I whispered. He looked at me like he wished Buddy had never been born. "To stop the wedding, without you knowing the real reason." The guests collectively inhaled. "You begged me to marry you," I said, tears spilling. "You told me I was your everything, Michael." "I do love you," he said, and for a second I almost believed him. "But after we got married, you would have found out about the debts, the inheritance problems, the money I owe. I thought if I collapsed during the ceremony, they'd rush me to the hospital, delay the paperwork. I'd get a few days to fix everything before you saw the truth." I just stared at him. On my wedding day, in front of my family, my friends, my God. He planned to lie, to fake a medical crisis with some shady chemical, to stall the legal part until he could cover his tracks. "You were going to start our marriage with a staged collapse," I said, my voice barely there. "With a chemical." He closed his eyes. "I was desperate. I didn't mean for it to go this far." The priest's voice was ice. "And yet, you brought it into this place, into this moment," Buddy growled again, and suddenly everyone in that church understood. The dog hadn't gone crazy. He'd gone protective. When the world called him a hero, they took Michael away in handcuffs. Just like that, the man I was about to marry walked out of the church between 2 officers, his head bowed, his future crumbling. The guests slowly filtered out. The decorations looked wrong, like they'd been set up for someone else's life. The flowers smelled too strong. The silence was unforgiving. I sat in the front pew with my veil crumpled beside me, my heart shattered. Buddy sat at my feet, pressed so close to me I could feel his heartbeat against my legs. His body finally relaxed. His ears softened. He didn't bark anymore. I ran my fingers through his fur, my tears falling onto his neck. "You knew," I whispered. "You knew before I did." My mum put a hand on my shoulder from behind. "Sweetheart," she said softly, "that dog saved your life. Maybe not your heartbeat, but your heart." I thought about every moment leading up to that day, Buddy growling when Michael came near. Buddy refusing treats from him. Buddy standing between us during arguments. Buddy pacing that morning, refusing food. I thought he was being jealous. He was begging me to listen. The priest walked up to us, his voice gentle. "Sometimes," he said, "our protectors don't come with titles or uniforms. Sometimes they come with 4 paws and a very loud bark." I smiled through my tears and buried my face in Buddy's fur. "You didn't just stop my wedding," I whispered into his neck. "You saved me." He wagged his tail once, just once, but it was enough. After the aisle, learning to be grateful for the collapse. In the days that followed, everything became a blur of headlines and paperwork. Dog stops wedding, exposes groom's secret. German Shepherd saves bride from dangerous deception. Reporters wanted interviews. People online called Buddy a hero. Meanwhile, my wedding dress hung in the corner of my room like a ghost. One afternoon, my mum brought me a letter from the police. I opened it with shaking hands. It confirmed everything. The vial contained a controlled chemical that could induce temporary paralysis or unconsciousness if used in a certain way. He had really planned it. He would have gone through with it. I put the letter down and looked at Buddy lying by the window. "You stopped him," I said, my voice breaking but steady. "You really stopped him before it was too late." He tilted his head like, "Well, duh." A local reporter eventually convinced me to speak on camera. I didn't glam it up. No dress, no makeup, just me, a sweater, and Buddy by my side. "People are calling him a hero," she said. "What does he mean to you?" I looked down at him, then back at the camera. "Buddy didn't just stop my wedding," I said. "He stopped me from walking into a lifetime of lies. We think dogs need us for food, shelter, love, but sometimes it's us who need them more." He saw the truth when I couldn't. He felt the danger I didn't want to see. He protected me when I was too in love to protect myself. Buddy leaned against my leg, right on cue. The reporter smiled through tears. That video went viral too. But that time, I didn't feel exposed. I felt grateful. A new beginning, with 4 paws beside me. Weeks turned into months. The flowers from that day died. The invitations went into a box. The dress stayed in the closet. But something else grew in their place. Peace. The hospital I used to volunteer at sent me an email asking if I'd be interested in helping with a new therapy program, one involving dogs working with trauma survivors. I looked at Buddy and laughed. "Looks like the world needs more heroes like you," I told him. That evening, I sat on the porch steps with a cup of tea, watching the sky turn orange. Buddy lay beside me, head on my knee, eyes half closed in contentment. "You know," I said quietly, "I used to think love meant big gestures and fancy weddings and perfect photos. Now I think it's simpler. It's loyalty, it's protection, it's someone, or some dog, who shows up when it matters most." He looked up at me, and I swear those eyes understood. I picked a small daisy from a pot beside me and tucked it into his collar. "You'll always be my hero," I whispered. That night, I wrote in my journal for the first time since everything happened. Today, I stopped seeing myself as the bride who almost got married. I started seeing myself as the woman who was saved by love. The kind that doesn't wear a ring, doesn't make speeches, and doesn't promise forever, but proves it every single day with 4 paws and a beating heart. Buddy shifted closer in his sleep, letting out this little sigh like he was finally at peace too. Tomorrow is still unwritten. I don't know who I'll meet or what I'll do or if I'll ever walk down another aisle, but I do know this. If I do and Buddy growls, I'm turning around. Because sometimes the greatest love story of your life isn't with a person at the end of an aisle, it's with the dog who refused to let you walk down it.